Not for a reason. Everybody set? A few more seconds. We're going to talk about structure, metrics, and price discovery. Okay, so we're going to get into this a little bit more some technical things related to markets, and as traders, it's important. So we're going to that's where we're going to go. So we're going to talk about prices, and we're going to break them down into bids and asks. We're going to talk about quotes and how that's different, or what those are exactly. We're going to talk about the bid-ask spread, what that is, what that means, why it matters. We're going to look at last traded price. We're going to look at price ladders, order books, volume, exchange fees, limits, and volatility. Okay, so these are all things that, as a trader, if you're looking at making a trading decision, they're all things that matter. So who's familiar with bids and asks? Has everyone heard that before? Anyone heard of that before? Anyone not heard of that before? Bids and asks. Okay. Okay. So does anyone want to give a quick explanation of what a bid is? Just from your understanding. We'll go into details later if we need to. Sure.
Is it like in an auction you bid to pay a certain price?
Right. Yep. So lots of people have heard of bids and auctions. Jason, you recently bought a house, right?
Yeah.
Did you place?
I wish I hadn't mentioned that. Actually.
but the process of buying involves bids and offers, right? Mm-hmm. So it's a way that we can organize prices, and what in exchanges, what we talk about or what we think about is bids are the price that you can sell at immediately. Okay? And an ask or an offer, and I'm not sure why they have used both words, but they use both and they're interchangeable, that you can buy for immediately. Okay? But it's not quite that simple, right? Because bids are also the price that you're willing to pay to buy, and they're also, and asks and offers can be the price that you're willing to sell at. So let's talk about how this is different, because these are confusing for most people. And it's not confusing for you, but I would imagine that it slightly is, right? Does this make sense to anybody? All right, can everybody see that okay?
Too small?
Is that better? Okay. So when we say that, so do we know how this is organized? Everyone's familiar with this sort of screen before? No?
No.
Okay. So this is called an order book, and we'll go into more details later. But what you have is the price and the quantity, right? And everybody's just getting in line. So remember when Judith tried to sell her coffee, right? We had two prices that were available, right? Kellers wanted to pay 1,000, and I paid 1,002, right? So we would organize those prices based on price and time, right? Which means that if we were trying to sell coffee, the person who's willing to pay the most gets to go to the front of the line. And the person who is willing to pay the same price, but gets there first, gets to buy it first. Okay? So if right now we wanted to sell in the market, right now, and we cared about time, the price that we can sell at is here, which is a bid, right? If we wanted to buy right now, right this second, the price that we can buy for is here, right? And you'll notice they're not the same, right? If I want to do it quickly, I'm paying more and I'm getting less if I'm selling. Does that make sense? Okay. So, but, like I said, there's also another definition. If I am willing to buy or willing to sell, but I don't care if it's immediate, I can bid here and be willing to buy it. And someone might trade with me, but they might not, right? And I could get a little bit more, I could get a little bit better price than if I bought it immediately. Make sense? And if I was willing to sell, but didn't care if I sold right this second, I might be able to sell it here, and instead of having to sell it down here. Does that make sense? Is that clear? Okay. So this is a bit confusing to wrap your head around at first, and people often kind of make mistakes with it. So, so don't worry, you'll get used to it. So let's talk about how our role in the market is different in each of those cases. All right. So the first case was immediate, right? So what were we doing? We're going out into the market, and we are just getting what's there, right? In the second example, what were we doing? Right, we could be positioning ourselves, right? What else? Like, let's think of it in terms of, let's think of it like consumers or stores. In the first example, are we acting like a little store, or are we acting like a consumer? Consumer. We're just going out and buying what we want, right? In the second example, we're more like a store that you can come in and shop, right? So in markets, we're talking about, they'll talk about being a market maker or a market taker. And there are fee structures that usually are involved with this and other things. But when you're making a market, you're saying, I'm willing to do a trade. When you are taking a market, you are going out and actually removing something that exists in the market, right, in order to just get done what you want. There's nothing wrong with either, right? They're both useful, and both at different times you'll always be sort of in both positions if you're actively trading. And there's times where you are happy to pay an extra fee in order to trade immediately, and there's other times where you're happy to wait, and that's just kind of comes with it. But so let's talk about quotes a little bit. So you have bids and you have asks, you have offers, but those are prices, right? So now we want to talk about quotes, because nobody is going to agree to buy an infinite amount or sell an infinite amount of anything, right? We always have to kind of qualify that, because when Jason told me that he was going to pay $1,000 or $1,000 for a Chicago dog, I said, great, I'm going to do all of them, every single one in the entire world. And Jason ran out of money, right? So he's going to say, I'm willing to buy one. And then realize that maybe his price was slightly off, right? And he's like, oh, so, okay, so and this is something that's, I think, is quite interesting. As the markets have become more electronic, it's not as standardized, but option pit traders, in order to be really clear on what they were trying to do, because you've got prices and quantities and things are moving around, and what you don't want to do is buy something when you were supposed to sell it, or sell something when you were supposed to buy it, right? So what they do is they quote in a very specific order, And again, I started trading in the electronic markets where people were less strict about this because the computer handles all of it. So I have to think about this, but it makes a big difference. It keeps things clear. When you quote something that you're buying, you quote the price on or for the quantity. So $100 for 100, right? So does that make sense? So, Mike, when you bought the coffee, right, you paid 1,002 on or for one, right? And when you're selling, it is the quantity at a price. So Andrew sold one at sugar. Right? So this is something, like I said, that pit traders actually have really ingrained. Electronic traders less so, but it's a really good convention because it keeps things clear. So, and clear communication is really important when you're trying to coordinate with multiple parties or execute trades appropriately, right? So it's just something to think about. Now, we were looking here at BitMEX. We'll go back for a second. So we want to look at the bid-ask spread. All right, and so any guesses what the bid-ask spread is? It's one of those nice things that kind of describes itself.
The difference between the bid and the ask.
It's the difference between the bid price and the ask price, right? And right now we can see it's 0.5, right? So why does that matter? Any thoughts?
Opportunity cost?
Not exactly, maybe depending on what you mean. But like we said, there's a difference in getting it immediately or waiting, right? So, and that's a price difference that you end up paying. Now this is quoted fairly tight, right? 0.5, that looks like it's like half, or maybe it ticks in that, so it's like one tick wide. But let's take a look at some other markets that are maybe not as good.